what is the next thing that we have to think about are the actions. Just notice that what I call the five elements, the Vedas call the Mahabhutas. Pancha means five, Mahabhuta means big element. So these are the Mahabhutas, and these are the Sanskrit words, right? The language that the ancient used to describe nature is Sanskrit, the oldest language. You can do some research on that also. What is Sanskrit? It is prior to Greek, Latin, and any other language ever created by human minds. So Akasha, Vashu, Tejo, Ap, Prithvi, these are the sounds that describe the Mahabhutas, the five elements. And the Pancha, Janya, Indriya are the systems of, Janya, Indriya are systems of perception. So this was written in these words. I am just translating them to English for you to understand better. So once we understand how we perceive, we look into how we act. So the question here is, what can we do with the energy that comes into our body-mind system through the senses? What can we do? What are our actions? What are our possible actions? And this is a big question, because we think that there are infinite things that we can do, but Patanjali, Ashtavakra, they simplified it in 5 systems of actions. 5 systems of action. So we look at our body, mind system, and we see what actions we can do. Very simple way of looking at nature. So the first system of action, we could start from the bottom again. We can start from the earth, right? We have our legs, and our legs allows us to move. So we are different to the trees. We can use our legs to move on earth, right? That's an action because it requires energy. So we are connecting the system of actions or motion with the element earth, because it has to do with our ability to exactly move on earth. It's quite obvious, right? Now, what else can we do? We have our legs to move. Great. We have our hands. Our hands are a very, very complex system of action. We can use our hands to do many different things. We can write, like right now I'm using my hands to write. We can paint, we can play an instrument. We could use our hands to do good things like healing. We could use our hands to do bad things like killing, but it's a very fluid system of action, the hand. And I guess it's for that reason that the rishis connected the hands with the water element, because of the fluidity of our hands, all the things that we can do with our hands. What else can we do? We have our legs, we have our hands, we have our, here, tongue. We have our tongue, we have our system of talking. We talk, we use our tongue to talk, right? So by talking, you are also using energy. Right now I am emitting vibrations into the air that go into this iPad, and this energy then travels into your ears. So the system of, or the action of talking was connected to the air element. We talk, we make the air vibrate. So we have legs, hands, mouth to talk, output of energy. What else? What else do we have? I invite you to think. What else do we have? Oh. Thinking. Thinking by itself is an action. You know the 25% of the food, the energy, the air, the food that comes into our body, 25%, 1/4 of that energy is just used by the brain. The brain consumes 25% of the oxygen in our blood. It is a huge system of action. So it is connected, of course, to space. Because when we think, what is happening is just electrons, charges vibrating through our nervous system, We are using our brain to think. So the action of thinking is there. So we've got thinking, tongue to talk, hands to work, legs to move. And there is one gap here. I mean, we want this to be a complete puzzle, and we can't leave any gaps. So the question is, what is the other action that we can do as human beings? Okay, that's probably a challenging one, but it has to do with our genitals. Our genitals are responsible for reproduction and also elimination. So these actions of reproduction and elimination, essential actions of every human being, I would say every being, every living being, it's one of the characteristics of life. Reproduction and elimination is connected to the fire element. I think that's quite obvious. It does not require any other explanations. So we have completed the first and the second row in the matrix. 5 systems of actions, 5 systems of perception. What's next? Here is the completed matrix with the second row, the brain to think, vocal cords to talk, genitals for reproduction, hands. Some books placed the elimination here, some books place it here. I'll just share it as it is. Some ancient books place this function here. The thing is that by looking at this matrix, we are beginning to understand what science is about. So we try to understand how the brain works. What is sound? That's more physics. This is more biology. Genitals, the systems of reproduction. A lot of biology there. This is what we study in school when we study science. All right. So what is next? Pancha Tanmatras and Pancha. That means Tanmatras. This is the connection between us and nature. If we see us as a system, right? And nature as a system, there must be systems inside of us and outside of us that are connected to the different elements of nature, right? Inside of us is microsystems. Outside of us, we call it macro systems or cycles. And this is also what we study in science. This is part of our syllabus in science, right? So let's think about this. What is the system of nature that connects us to the space element through the ears, that makes us think? What is the system inside our body, mind system that allows this to happen? It's a nervous system, right? The nervous system is connected to the space element because it's all electricity. Electrons jumping, charges jumping through space from neuron to neuron. Every time we think of something or we imagine something or we perceive something, a certain displacement of or pattern or electrical pattern that could be observed and scanned happens in our brain. So how we think and how we perceive nature has to do with the nervous system. First system that's connected to space. What system is inside of us that connects us with the air element? I think that's quite obvious. It's the respiratory system, right? We are connected to the atmosphere through our nostrils, lungs, and all that is inside the lungs, the alveoli, the air sacs, right? So understanding the respiratory system is a way of understanding the connection between us and air. Us and fire. We could find more than one here, but digestive system is definitely the system that is transforming all the food that we eat into heat energy inside our body. Remember that for enzymes in the digestive system to act, the temperature must be certainly very close to 37 degrees, right? That's the maximum or the optimum temperature for the digestive system to work. So the body-mind system keeps this energy or this temperature constant for a reason, right? So digestive system. We could also think about the reproductory system, because it is connected to the fire element. So we could put these systems that we study in biology, how the digestive system works, how the reproductory system works, connecting it to the fire element. Water element, obviously, circulatory system. The circulatory system, 90% of the blood is just water. 70% of the mass in our body is just water. Our cells are made of water. And the water in our body flows through the blood, circulatory system. So inside our body, circulatory system, and skeleton, muscles. These systems inside our body connect us with the earth element because they provide the mechanics of the body. Now, as we see these systems inside the body, we could see the systems also outside the body, right? So in nature, the system that is connected to the space element is the universe, obviously. It's the biggest systems of all. The universe is all that exists. I would say probably the cosmos. It's everything that exists outside and inside of us. What we perceive through our senses, no matter how far we look, is cosmos. Outside the body, the atmospheric system, right? The system that connects, that the big system that is around us is the atmosphere as a system. Remember, atmosphere is a system that is around us, but it's not so big, right? If the Earth was an apple, the atmosphere would be the skin of the apple. It's a very thin layer of gases that is surrounding the Earth. And to this thin layer of gases, we are throwing tons and tons of food, of waste. It's a system that we take for granted and we do not look after. The atmospheric system, you know, we are burning the equivalent of 400,000 atomic bombs per day, every single day in the year. 400,000 Hiroshima bombs are being burned by humanity in terms of heat going in the form of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So we should study and respect more the atmospheric system, understand how the weather is connected to the clouds and the consequences of our actions into the atmosphere. Fire, of course, the solar system, obviously. Outside our body-mind system, the central of energy, like the solar, we have the solar plexus, right, inside, at the height of our chest, and in the center of our body-mind system, we could place that fire, the source of energy, and in the center of the solar system, we have the sun, a star that is providing us with all the energy that we need. The sun is responsible for light, and light is responsible for the cycle of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the transformation of light into matter. So this is what the trees and the plants do. They get light from the sun and they transform it into an apple, right? That miracle, that cycle of nature in science, we call it photosynthesis, and that is something that we all study in science also. So we have cycles like nitrogen cycle. The air is mainly nitrogen. So the nitrogen cycle is the cycle of the air going to the earth, feeding the plants and then going back into the air. the photosynthesis, the cycle of the light coming from the sun, the water cycle, connecting the water element in nature in a cycle that we could explain, like water from the ocean evaporates by the action, always by the action of the sun. It brings cloud, it condenses, it falls into the mountains, it creates the rivers, we drink it, it becomes part of our body, and then we go to the toilet and it goes back to the ocean. So we are part of this water cycle in nature. And the cycle that has to do with the earth element is probably, or one of the cycles that has to do with the earth element that we study in biology, is the carbon cycle. Yeah? How the matter that makes, for example, an apple degrades by the action of bacteria, decomposes, becomes petrol, then it's burned, it goes back into the air, and then so the carbon cycle is another cycle that we study in nature. So we have a complete matrix now, right? We have it organized by column, like this, yeah? Because we like to look at the idea of the elements in rows so that we can see earth, water, air, fire. We have like a similar view as if you were sitting like I am now, sitting in front of a beach, surrounded by these elements in that order. Of course, the sun is moving in space. In fact, we are moving. In fact, everything is moving. The only thing that could stay still is the mind. Everything else is changing and moving. So this is my invitation to you. These are some links to ways to understand, carbon cycle, the circulatory system. These are links that explain all these topics in physics, science, biology. But what I invite you to do now, at the end of this matrix, is change the order of the matrix. So this is an empty matrix where I have changed the order of the matrix. Now we have rows with the 5 senses of perception, action, micro and macro systems. I will probably allow you to hold on this one, the fields of physics. I will not deal with this now. We'll wait for this. You can cross it. But if you can complete this, if you can complete, these are 4 by 5, 20 different places to put 20 different words. The probability of getting this right mathematically are very low. It's 1 over factorial of 20, 1 over 20 by 19 by 18. These are the probabilities of, if you do it at random, of putting the words in the right places. But if nature makes sense, there is only one possible way of completing this conceptual map. So I invite you to stop the video, grab a piece of paper, and try to complete this matrix from your own understanding, from your own, recalling of what makes sense to you. And then we'll see if we are agreeing or not. All right. So that is the first video. Take your time to digest these ideas and then move on to the next one. Namaste.